Hey guys, this is Balu and today in this tutorial I will show how you can create this kind of product reveal CGI ads in Blender using FSpy application and GeoTracker easily. So hope you guys will find the video useful, and without any further delay let's start today's video. So here I'm using this FSpy application to get the camera perspective, and also I'm using the footage from Pixels. Here you can see I'm using this footage which I got from Pixels. I will leave a link in the description if you want to use the same. So we need to have a single frame of our footage. So be on the starting frame. If you are using VLC player, go to this video and select this take snapshot. You will get single frame of our video. So after that we need to load that image onto this FSpy. So here we got the snapshot. Simply select it and drop it onto this FSpy application. So now we need to align this axis as per the perspective. So here I will change this y-axis to -z. So this red line is x-axis, so I will start to align that first. So let's bring this point here. Hold shift key to zoom in. So I'll place this here, and yeah, I think this is fine. Now let's align this y-axis. So now you can see we got this xy axis aligned, and I think I need to change this to z-axis so that we get our z-axis upward. Okay, so now let's enable this xy grid. So now we got the floor also. So now we need to save the file. So go to this file option, save, and I will rename this as 7777 and save. So now we can close FSpy and open Blender. So here we are using 4.3 version. Now let's delete these defaults by pressing A on the keyboard and delete. So now let's import that FSpy data. And by the way, if you want to know how to install and download this FSpy application, I will leave a link in the description for a video where you can find the details, or else you can click on the icon above for that video. So go up to this file option, import, select this FSpy. So here we got the file. Simply select it and import FSpy project file. Okay, so now you can see we got our image along with the camera perspective. So first of all, come to this camera options here, expand this background images. So here this is set to image, change this to movie clip since we are going to use movie clip, and load the footage once again from here. Open and select the footage. So we got our footage loaded. So scroll down and let's increase the opacity to 1. So first of all, let's add a cylinder here. So shift A, come to this mesh option, add cylinder. So come to this add option, and I will increase the vertex to 64. Now I will place this onto the grid. So G, Z, hold control key. So we got our cylinder onto the grid. So let's come to this edit mode, select the face here, select this face, bring the scale down here a bit. So press 0 once again to see through camera. And let's change this to the object mode. So let's increase the radius here. So press S, hold shift key and Z and increase the scaling here, so that it only increases the scaling in x-axis and y-axis. Okay, so now we got the base here. So now let's use GeoTracker to track the footage. So press N on the keyboard first side, come to this GeoTracker and create new GeoTracker. So here we need to select the clip once again. So open, select the clip, load clip here. After loading the clip, you will get the analyze option. Here I'm getting reanalyze because I have analyzed the footage already. You will get analyze option. Simply click on that analyze option and it will ask for the frames. So here I will change the frames to 400. Okay, and here you can see it is starting to analyze the footage. So it's analyze the footage from 0 to 400 and again from 400 to 0 frames. So here the analyzing is done. First of all, let me save the project, Ctrl S. So file is saved. So once the analyzing is done, change this to camera view. Since we are tracking camera, change this to camera and select this start pin mode. And after that, click on this track to end frame. So simply click on that. So it will start tracking our footage and it will give the key points here. So here you can see we are getting the keyframes. So here our tracking is done and we got the key points here. So let me change this end frame to 400 and let's bring the keyframes here. Okay. So after that, simply click on this exit pin mode here. So now if I play this, you can see our solid is staying in its position only. So now let's add our product onto this base. So here I will be using this Blender kit to get the models. So Blender kit is free to download. So here I will search as Coke. So from here I will use this model. Simply click on the image. It will be loaded here. You can see we got that model. So right click, let's select the models here, press S and increase the scaling. It got this empty. Let's select the empty and let's scale it here. So yeah, I think this much is fine. Press 1 for front view. and let's place this just above to the base here. So place this just above to the base. So yeah, I think this is fine. So first of all, let's clear this parent. So let's select the empty, Alt P, clear and keep transform. Select this scan, Alt P, clear and keep transform. Now we can delete this empty. So first of all, let's apply the scaling option. So here you can see the scaling is 131. So let's apply the scaling. So Control A and apply scaling, or else you can go to this object, apply scale. So now this is set to default. So this is important. Make sure to apply the scaling option. And let's come to this material viewport. So we are in material viewport. Press 0 to see through camera once again. So first of all, let me rotate this model a bit. So I will rotate this here like this. Okay, so this is fine. So now let's duplicate this model. So Shift D. So here you can see I have duplicated this model. Now let's rename this one. So this is duplicated one, duplicate, and this is original. So first of all, let's increase the scaling of this duplicated model a bit. So first of all, let me take this texture away. So click here, take the texture, click on this number to unlink from other model and clear. So now we got this can without texture. So now we need to increase the scaling a bit. So come to this wireframe mode and let's increase the scaling. So press S and increase the scaling a bit. Okay, so this is the original one. So here you can see we got this distance, right? And this is the duplicated one. Okay, so now let's work on the duplicated one. So let's hide this original one. So now let's delete these above faces and below faces. So let's select this model, change this to edit mode and enable this X revision also. Now change this to vertex selection and I will delete these vertices here. So select them, delete and delete vertices, and also at the top I will delete these meshes. So first of all, let's select any of the vertex here. So make sure only this vertex is selected. Control L to select the joining one. Let's delete that. In the same way, let's delete this thing. So now we got rid of that extra meshes. So now let's change this to object mode. Okay, and let's come to this material viewport. So first of all, let's add some material. So before do that, let's come to this modifier options. So we got this auto smooth modifier. So first of all, let's apply this one, and also for this original model I will apply this smooth modifier. So select this duplicate model, come to this material options, add new material, and let's change this color to somewhat like this one. Okay, and let's give it a bit of metallic look. So I think this is fine. Let's reduce so I think roughness is fine. So now we got some material applied onto this coke can. So now let's move on to the interesting topic, which is going to be the peel effect. So select this duplicated one, come to this particle properties and click on this plus icon to add particles. So here you can see we got the particles. So come to the starting frame. So we don't want these many particles here, so I will reduce this to 5, and we want the particles to be from the starting frame, so I will change this end value to 1. So now you can see we got the particles. So if you want to see more, you can see we got this 20 particles here, and lifetime we need to make this more than our timeline. So here the timeline is of 400 frame, right? So I will change this to 600 frames. So make sure this lifetime is more than that of our timeline. Okay, so now scroll down, come to the source option, expand it, and make sure to apply this use modifier options, and come to this physics option. So now if I apply this, you can see our particles are falling down. We don't want that to happen, so I will change this physics type to none, so the particles will be staying in its position only. So I think this much is fine for this. So now come to this modifier options, and now we are going to add explode modifier to get the pieces. So go to this add modifier. So before that, let me change this to wireframe mode so that you can see clearly. Add modifier, come to this physics and add explode. So now you are not seeing anything, but as soon as I click on this cut edges, you can see we got those pieces here already. Nice. So now let's change to this viewport, material viewport, and now let's add cloth onto this can. So again, come to this add modifier, come to this physics options and cloth. So as soon as I play this, you can see the can model is falling down. So now we don't want that to happen. We want this can model to be staying in its position. So let's do that now. So come to this object data properties here, and click on this vertex group. Before clicking on this vertex group, change this to edit mode. Press A to select all the vertices. Make sure all the vertices are selected. Now click on this plus icon and let's rename this as pins and assign. That means we have assigned all these vertices to this pins group. Okay, so now let's change this to object mode. Now being selected this can, come to this physics property. So now still if I play this now, the can will be falling down. So scroll down, come to the shape options. We will get this shape options, right? Come to the shape options and here we need to select the pins. So now if I play this, our can model will be staying in that position only, it will not fall down. And also come to this cache options. Here by default the simulation is only for 250 frames, so the timeline is for 400, so I will make this simulation to be 400 frames. So now let's make this like peeling effect. So let's see, press 0 to see through camera. So let's create an empty first. So shift A, or else you can go to this add empty. I will add sphere here, press S and increase the scaling. So I will make this large. Okay, so here you can see our can model is inside this empty. And first of all, let's apply the scaling options. So here the scaling is 5.37, right? So we need to apply the scaling. So being selected this empty, Control A, or else you can go to this object, apply scale. So now let's animate this. So press 0 to see through camera and let's place this empty here first. So let it be here like this. Come to the starting frame here, press I on the keyboard to add keyframes. So if I come to this object properties, you can see we got keyframe added to location, rotation and scaling also. So here I want this effect to be like 300 frames. So come to this 300 frame and let's bring this empty here so that it covers the can model completely. Now again press I on the keyboard, add a keyframe. So let's save the project once again. So now select both the keyframes, press T and make it linear. So now if I play this, you can see we got this empty moving towards the can and our can will be inside this completely. So I think this much is, or else I think I need to reduce this and make it little fast. So I will make this 200 counts only so that it will be moving bit fast. So I think this is fine. So only 200 frames is fine for me. So we got this empty added. So let's select this can model once again, which is duplicated one. Come to this modifier options, add modifier, edit and add this vertex weight proximity and bring this above to this cloth modifier. So our cloth modifier should be last. So let's close this here a bit. Okay, so our cloth modifier should be last. So in vertex group we need to select the pins group which we have created earlier. So select it and target, it should be our sphere empty. So let's select this empty here. So now if I play this, you can see here nothing seems to be happening. So let's change this to vertex paint and here we need to adjust this lowest and highest value. So highest value I will change this to 5 and lowest I will increase this a bit. Okay, and make sure this proximity is changed to geometry. So now you can see we got this influencing on the can model. So I will change this to 4.3 and fall off I will change this to smooth. Okay, let's save the project once again and let's change this to object proximity. And now if I play this, we will have that peel effect on the can. So now if I play this, we will have that peel effect. So here you can see we are getting that peel effect. Our model is getting into small pieces, right? So now let's select this original can model, enable it and add collision onto that. So come to this physics property, add collision. So I will reduce this friction to 0. We don't want any friction. And for this base also I will add collision and friction, let it be 5 for this base, and I will add a ground plane. So shift A, mesh, select a plane here, press S and increase the scaling. Let's press 0 to see through camera. So for this plane also let's add collision. So select the plane, add collision so that the pieces will interact with the base and this plane also. So now if I play this, we will have our peel effect, but the pieces will fall down. So now we need to make these pieces to float away. So for that we will be using wind. So here you can see these pieces are falling down. So we need to make these pieces to float away. So now let's use wind here. So go to this add, come to this force field, add wind here. Press S and increase the scaling a bit. So let's come to the starting frame. So let's select this empty here. So come to this vertex group, press 0 to see through camera. So now if I play this, we will have that peel effect on the can. So now if I play this, we will have that peel effect. So here you can see we are getting that peel effect. So now let's select this empty here. So come to this vertex group, press 0 to see through camera. So let's come to the starting frame. So let's come to this Let's bring this wind here. We want these pieces to be flown in this way. We want this to flow in this way. So let's rotate this wind here like this. So let's change this to object mode. First of all, let me hide out this cloth material so that we can work easily. And let's change to this to weight paint, and let's say at which frame the influence is happening. So at 34th frame, right? So let's come to this 0. Now let's change this object mode, select the wind here, come to this wind properties. So at starting frame I will add a keyframe for the strength option. So at 34th frame the influence is acting, right? So I will move to this 40th frame and I will increase the strength to, I think it will be like 650. So I will change this to 500. So this you need to check according to your scene. So I think 500 would be fine for this scene. And by the way, if you want to have the pieces to be more, select this duplicated one. Make sure the duplicated one is selected. Come to this particles property and increase the count here. So let's increase the count to 50. So this will take much time to bake the simulation. So depending upon the time you can invest, increase the number value. So 50 is fine for me. So now let's come to this modifier options and enable this cloth here. So now it's time to bake the simulation. So come to this physics property once again. Let's save the project here once again. Scroll down and click on this bake option. So here the bake is done, and here I have changed the direction of this wind, and also I have increased the strength to 5000 because the previous value is not showing any effect on the cloth. So I have changed this value to 5000, and now if I play this you can see the effect. So now you can see we got the effect. So now let's move on to this render viewport. Before that, let's press 0 to see through camera. Now let's move on to this render viewport. So here the scene is looking dark because there is no light in the scene. So here I will be using HDR to light up the scene. So for that, come to this world properties, click on this yellow dot of color and enable this environment texture. Click on the environment texture. So from here we can load any HDRI. So here I will be using this Polyheaven website and I'm using this HDRI. So simply click on this download button, it will be downloaded. So now let's come to this Blender once again, open, and let's select the HDRI and open image. So now you can see we got some light in the scene. So now come to this render properties, enable ray tracing, and come to this film option and make it transparent. So now let's rotate this thing to get the shadows properly aligned as per the scene. So now come to this shading option here. So here we are in shading viewport, press 0 to see through camera. Let's change this to render view. So here change this from object to world. So now let's select this node here, press Ctrl T to get node wrangler. And by the way, if you not enable node wrangler, go to this edit, preferences, come to this add-ons and look for node, NODE. So by default this will be disabled, enable it and save those preferences. So after that select the node and press Ctrl plus T. So now let's rotate this thing. So I will rotate this here so that we get the shadows in this way. So now you can see we got the shadows in correct direction. So now let's move to this layout once again. So now we don't want this plane to be visible, we want this plane to be transparent, but it should catch the shadows. So let's select the plane here. So come to this render settings, change this to cycles and enable GPU compute. Now being selected this plane, come to this object properties, scroll down, come to this viewport display, come to this visibility option and enable this shadow catcher. So now let's select this base here and let's add some solid color. So add new material and base color, I will select this floor color only and I'll make it bit metallic kind of look and I will increase the roughness a bit metallic. And if you want to add some bevel, so let's change this to cycles. So and by the way, the shadow catcher only works in cycles engine. So let's move on to this object viewport. Let's select this solid and press tab key for edit mode. Just extrude this a bit. Now change this to face selection. Select this face here, hold alt key and select these alternate faces. Now press E, Z and extrude it upward a bit like this. Okay. So Ctrl R and add loop cuts here. And Ctrl R and add loop cuts here. Ctrl R and add a loop cut here. Okay, so press tab key once again to exit this edit mode. Now right click, shade auto smooth here. So we got this thing. Okay, nice. So press 0 once again to see through camera and change this to render viewport. and also change this to cycles. So now you can see we got our scene ready. So here, come to this render settings. Here maximum samples I will reduce this to 32 and noise threshold I will make it 0.1. So these settings are to reduce the render time. If you can spend much time and if your device is capable, you can increase this samples count to get the better quality. I think I'm not satisfied with this material, so let's change this to Psych EV and let's come to this material options in this. So here I have used this granite material, so it is applied onto the solid. So press tab key for edit mode, press A to select all the vertices, press U, unwrap, select smart UV project. Okay, so I think now this is looking good. So and also I think for this pill I want to make this bit shiny, so let's select this material, come to this material options and let's reduce the roughness and let's give this metallic. And if you want to change the color you can do this. So at any point of time if you want to change the color you can do that. So I think yeah, so I will change this to color, and metallic I will reduce this a bit, and roughness I will reduce this a bit so that it will be reflecting. Okay, so now press 0 once again and let's change this render viewport to cycles. Fine, so now this is looking good and we have reduced this maximum samples and noise threshold. So now come to this output properties. So here by default the resolution set to this vertical format, change this if you want, and enable this render region, crop to render region, and frame rate we need to match with the footage frame rate. The footage frame rate is of 30 frames, so I will change this to 30 fps, and the starting frame range I will leave to 1 to 400 only. And come to this output properties. Here we need to select a folder where we can save the files. So quickly I will select a location. So here I have selected location to save the files. So file format, let it be PNG, and make sure this RGBA is selected or else we won't get the alpha channel. And let's come to this render settings once again, color management, let's make this transform to standard, and if you want to add contrast we can add, so I will add medium high contrast here. Okay, so we have set the render settings and output properties also. So once this is done, come to this render and click on this render animation. So it starts to render only the CGI elements. We won't get the footage while rendering. We get this only CG elements with alpha channel. Later we need to use any editing software to do this compositing. So here I will come to the starting frame. I will show you a single frame. So come to the starting frame. I will render a single frame here. So go to this render and click on this render image. So here you can see it is rendering only the CG elements, we are not getting the footage. Later we need to use any editing software like Premiere Pro, After Effects, DaVinci or whichever you like to do compositing. So here we are in After Effects and I have loaded the footage already. So here we have rendered the starting frame, right? So I will get the starting frame and I will drag and drop this rendered image onto this project panel and again drop it onto this footage. So since this is a single frame, we won't get the sequence here. So in order to get the complete sequence, we need to render whole animation in Blender. Later, drag and drop it onto the footage, do color correction and render it once again. So in this way, we can create this kind of simple product reveal CGI ad videos in Blender easily. So hope you guys have learned something new from this tutorial. If you learned anything new, please like, share and subscribe my channel to support me. So we'll meet in the next video. Until then, signing off. Take care. Bye.